Hi, I'm Valerie Espinosa, your New Mexico Public Regulation Commissioner, and I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of our program. We have with us today two very distinguished guests, and I want to thank them both for being here.
Thank you.
Dr. Circe Wessner.
Good.
And Dr. Alan Dale Olson, and they are with the Museum of the American Military Family. And I always think that, we should honor our veterans every day, not just on Veterans Day. And I think you would agree with me.
Well, absolutely. And also we honor the families. That's specifically what our museum was created for. Behind every veteran, every service member, there is a family member, a wife, a husband, a parent, grandparents, kids. All of us support our service members, so we do every day.
And a sister, right?
Yeah, sister, absolutely. Go ahead.
And every town in America has a memorial to some form of veteran service, to a battleship, or to a battle, or to a squadron, or some military unit. But there aren't any monuments to the mothers and fathers, the sons and daughters, and the spouses. And so we're trying to fill that void, and we think we're the only museum in the country doing that.
You're going to have to tell me all about it so that the audience will know.
That's why
viewing
we're
audience. So let's talk about your background, because you have an extensive background, and like you say, you're a wife and mom, and we forget about the family members.
Well, so let's start with you, because you are the elder person.
She's very respectful of her father.
Yeah.
I'd like to tell you I started off trying out for the Chicago Cubs back in the 1940s, but we won't get into that.
Why not? It didn't work, or it did?
Well, I took the curse off, as you know, and they won everything last season.
Hey.
My life began as a teacher, really, and I got hooked up with the U.S. dependent schools that serve the children of the military, and finished most of my career working with the headquarters of the U.S. Army in Europe as the executive director for the whole school system in Europe. So I had quite an extensive experience with military life. I'm a military veteran of 2 years in the occupation of Germany, but my civilian life was with the Army as an official with the school program that served the military kids in Europe.
Well, I salute you. And someone said you're not supposed to salute a veteran if you're not a veteran. I said, oh, well, I do that all the time. Is that a no-no?
I think just respecting our veterans, they will see that it comes from the heart, and it's fine. There are a lot of rules, so just as long as you mean something heartfelt, I think most people can see that.
Just mean it, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about some of those rules from my sister in the Air Force at the academy.
Well, so I was born in France, and my parents were teachers at the time, and then I grew up in Germany, and I graduated from the Department of Defense schools that my dad was talking about, Karlsruhe American High School. And I went 2 years to the college at the University of Maryland in Munich, which was just down the road from where we lived, very special campus. So I first moved to the States officially when I was 18 years old. I had visited back and forth, but so when I got to the States, I was with my fiance, who I had met in Europe. His dad was with the diplomatic corps. I had a big culture shock. But we spent 2 years in Virginia, and I graduated from Old Dominion with a degree in German. And then from there, we spent several years homesteading off in southern Indiana, just living off the land, trying to be pioneers. Wasn't our best effort. So
How long did that last?
It lasted about 2 years, and I realized that I wasn't cut out for country living. And I missed home. My parents were still home back in Germany. And so my husband was having a very successful career in the banking industry. He was 27 years old, and I wanted to go back to Germany. So I went to the recruiter, and I said to the recruiter, can we be guaranteed Germany? I have somebody who wants to join the military. So I came home with all the paperwork and the packets, and I said to my husband, do you want to join the Army? Wouldn't it be fun? And actually, he was feeling a little bored in the banking industry, so at age 27, he did join the military. He went to basic training. He was the old guy. And then after that, he went into officers candidate school, and so then he became a lieutenant. And we did get back to Germany. so that was pretty good. So we then spent 20 years as a military family traveling and working. We were there when the wall came down in Germany. We were stationed on the East German border. And that was really amazing to see the 2 years we'd been there prior, of course, you know, we were enemies, and now all of a sudden, you know, overnight we're, you know, working together, and that was kind of cool. And that's
That
kind
was
of
quite an experience.
yeah, it was, and that's why we founded the museum, and I started collecting stories, because behind every piece of history that the military is serving in, the family is viewing it from a different lens. And so when the wall came down, I started teaching English to Eastern European refugees in the Volkshochschule system. So after 20 years of military, my husband retired, and now he does the exact same thing he did in the military for the Department of Energy.
Outstanding.
And I work for the federal government now too.
And you bring up the museum. Would you talk more about it in the book, and so we can show?
Yeah. So the museum came about when my son was in Iraq in 2010, 2011.
Where is this museum located?
It's in
Or where?
Tijeras, right next to
Tijeras.
Molly's Bar. On
Right
old.
where the Turquoise Highway intersects with the I-40 at interchange 175.
I'm gonna have to do a
Turquoise
tour of
Trail and
that.
Route
We
66.
should all have a tour.
Yeah, we
It's about
should.
7 miles east of
Albuquerque.
And how long has it been there?
Well, it's only been there since July, but the museum started in 2010, or 2011 we incorporated. And basically it came out of one night. I was watching the news while my son was deployed, and I was hoping and praying, you know, that he'd come back okay and he would be, you know, fine and healthy. And I thought about all the other moms and dads around the world, you know, who have sons and daughters in a combat zone, and I thought, you know, we have this all in common. And, you know, I thought about us, we have to be so tough, us, we moms especially, because our kids are Skyping us or texting us, and, you know, we're scared to death. And we can't show that, because we have to stay calm so that they don't have to worry about freaking out mom or dad, too. So,
Ouch, that's tough.
Yeah, so, and it wasn't so hard when my husband deployed. For some reason, I was okay with that. But when my baby, even though he's in his mid-20s, went off, you know,
look like
it was a
you're,
little...
you look like you're, you know, 30.
Oh, well, no.
I'm not kidding.
Thanks.
But the impact of deployment does affect the family. It's not just the concerns about health and safety, but daily life, looking after the kids, paying the bills, keeping the morale up, making sure that everybody has what he or she needs.
See, and we don't realize that, you know, everybody
Yeah.
goes on living their,
Not really, you know. And
we don't.
I think of families in Turkey right now, for example, military and State Department families who have evacuated. They're given about 48 hours, you're leaving. And all their personal effects are left on the base, and they are taken off to other bases, either in Spain or Germany or back to the U.S. They may never see their stuff again.
And just like in Japan, in Fukushima, they asked, you know, if they wanted to evacuate because of the radiation. But getting back to why we started, so I'm thinking about the commonality all military families have. We all have moved. We have all been through deployments. We all have had loss, and that was what made it common for all of us. That was what we all had in common. And so I thought, I wonder if there's a museum out there. And so when I Googled it, I didn't see anything. So I can't say for sure there's not, but according to Google, there wasn't at the time. And so I called my dad, because every good idea is after you've watched the news, you've had a glass of wine, and you're thinking, Dad, we're going to start a museum. And he's like, okay,
Be
cool.
darn.
Yeah, he's like, okay, cool. You know, I'm retired. I don't have nothing to do. But that's where it ended, because I have a job, I have a dog, I have, you know, family to take care of. And so about 4 months passed, and my dad was like, what about this museum you're going to start?
You shouldn't have told him about it.
Yeah.
He was already
Worst
planning the
mistake I ever
building.
made.
So we got together some friends,
Outstanding.
and they were all either veterans or military family members, spouses or brats. And
Brats.
oh, yes. So that is the enduring term for the military child. And there's lots of history behind that. There's urban legends of what it means, what it's called. The story that is most recited is that brat is what the British military used to have stamped on their traveling papers as the families were going off when they were colonizing. British Regiment Attached Traveler. And so brat.
It really doesn't mean brat. It means
No, brat is a term of endearment. Most military children will refer to themselves as
And
brat.
they specify Air Force brat, Navy brat, Army
yeah.
brat, diplomatic brat.
But there's a lot of different acronyms people have made, like born, raised, and trained. Born rough and tough, resilience, it goes on. I think the word brat really means child of in the dictionary, but there's urban legends about everything. So
They have
brats,
an emblem, the dandelion,
it's the official brat flower.
because it grows everywhere, it spreads everywhere.
You pick it up and it blooms where the seeds
it
go.
I like
and-
that.
Yeah.
So what was one of them? Born, raised, and tough,
and trained.
and trained. That's good.
Yeah, you definitely had to be trained well because you didn't want to reflect badly on your parents as a military child. That was not good because anything you did reflected poorly on your sponsor, the service member, and that could cause him or her career, well, even the career or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, so. We did start the museum, and it's kind of interesting. Something else about the military culture is we're all given ID cards, and you issued an ID card. I can't go on Kirtland Air Force Base unless I have my ID card. And we're raised with ID cards. At the age of 10, at least it used to be, I'm sure it's probably still similar, you get an ID card issued to you. I had this ID card my whole life, and if I lost it, my dad would get, even though he wasn't in the military, because we were assigned to a base overseas, I couldn't get on base. So
One ID, no breaks if you
Right.
lost it.
Well, you got in trouble. They would give you a new one, but you'd get lectured, and the community commander, the
I would get that shit.
So at any rate, but what happens is you use that ID card to get onto base, into the movie theater, to anywhere.
Buy
And
gas.
Buy gas. And so at age 18, if you're not in college, you have to turn it back in, and you're kind of kicked out of the only life you've ever known. Now, if you're in college, it goes to 23. But a couple things happen. It's a really weird experience to all of a sudden not have military privileges, not to have the whole support system or the places that you've gone to. You can't go home. I have a friend that grew up on Kirtland Air Force Base. She can't go on base. She's not affiliated with the military. So
Just because she turned of age?
yeah, she has no
No business.
She
to
has
be
no
on base.
business to be on base, but she can't go home. She can't show her kids. I lived in that house on base. So we kind of decided we would be the symbolic home for all the people that have nostalgic memories of the military life, specifically the brats or the spouses or the parents.
And what type of things are inside the museum?
Oh, okay. So, well, we do have, that's one of our huge projects that we're so proud of. But in our museum, we actually have 4 exhibits. So we're actually in Molly's house. We have to back up. So we are located next to Molly's bar, in Molly's house.
In T. Harris and
In T.
Molly's
Harris.
Yeah,
it's a
Molly's-
destination bar.
So we're
She's-
inviting everybody to
Yes.
show up.
Come to the
That's-
museum on the weekends and then have a drink at Molly's. But Molly is kind of a legend down there in Tejares. She was a justice of the peace, and so she used to have weddings in her house, I understand. And then the house underwent some other changes. There were stores and stuff, but when we saw the place, we thought, what is more fitting for a military family museum than a house? So we have a kitchen, we have the living room. Of course, we don't cook in the kitchen.
And it looks just like a military.
Yeah,
the
the
kitchen's been
linoleums-
repainted.
yeah.
It doesn't. The furniture's kind of gruff from having.
Yeah, there's
moved
scratches
around.
on the
Moved so many
linoleum. Yeah,
times.
the linoleum is scratched, and since a lot of the furniture came from military families, there's still the stickers. That's another thing. Even 20 years after you get out of the military, you're still finding those moving stickers on the bottom of your furniture. So we have all of these. It looks just like a military family house.
I don't know what that's like. I wouldn't want
That's
to.
why you don't need to come.
Well, no, I will definitely visit, but I wouldn't want to have to move from one state to another, and
Oh,
that would be hard.
we moved 18 times in 20 years.
Oh,
Think of this: the
no.
average kid goes to 5 or 6 different schools en route to graduation. Where are you from? Well, when? That's the way you answer that question. And they develop ties to some of their locations too. There are kids who spend a lot of time in France or Japan or Germany, and they still have a longing to go back there, or some for it in the States. You know, they get these attachments for one another and for the system.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure my sister was all over the place too, at the Air Force bases and different places, and so yeah. it's
So when people ask me where I'm from, I usually say I'm homeless. But if they really push, I'll say I'm from Karlsruhe in Germany. I lived there the longest in one spot.
where were you born?
I was born in Évreux, France, near Dreux Air Base.
I guess that's
Her
the
mother
place.
and I were assigned to an air base in France at the time she was born. Though we spent most of our career in Germany at the school headquarters.
So that's where I'm from, Karlsruhe, I guess. But getting back to your question, we are also a special collections library. So not only are we a museum and we have 4 permanent displays and we do lots of programming, which we'll talk about, we also are a special collections library. And we've been collecting books and movies and magazines that are either about military family members, or written by. Somehow they're affiliated with the military. So we have about 600 books and things like that. But what is more interesting, I think, are the folios we have. We've been collecting personal memoirs from people, and we go all the way back to World War II. And so we have hundreds of little folios, you know, those three-pronged little things, each
Many of
one.
them handwritten.
Yeah. And some of them are scanned. We're working on that. So we've got those, and we've got letters going back to World War I. And so as part of a special collections library, we have created our first anthology, which is what you're holding in your hand. And it's called From the Front Lines to the Home Front, New Mexicans Reflect on War. And what we did is we asked veterans, military family members, some children, to write a story about war, reflect on it. So
Look
it's
what I opened up first. A fighter pilot faces the hazards of combat fight.
and that
Right.
and that was
my
your
sister.
That's your
That's your
sister,
sister.
right?
You too.
Wow, you need to come to our
Yeah.
book group tomorrow.
I should. I should see if she has anything for your collection.
We would love
I'll bet
that.
she does.
Yeah, I bet she does too. So that book, actually, we have about 30 different people in it who have contributed to it. It's not for sale. We entered into the idea of having it as a discussion piece. And so we actually got a humanities grant for that from the National Humanities Foundation. And
For the discussion groups.
right.
be.
And we actually have started our own press. So if you look at the back of
It
the book.
seems like there's letters in here. Is that the intention, or?
And no, there's no letters.
stories.
It's stories and
Stories.
poems, but we're our own press, and so that's why it's on the back.
Museum of the American Military Family.
Yeah, and so that one is only going to be given to people who attend discussion groups because we want to open up the broader conversation about war. It's not all like it is on TV or in the movies. There's a lot of in-between stuff, and so that book reflects that, and it's
And
from
it
the
impacts on family life.
right, and it has the perspectives of both spouses and kids, as well as soldiers.
Anything on the, what is it, the Navajo Code Talkers?
We have some people who have put in some stories about Korean War and about Tony Hillerman's daughter has written in there a story about her dad. But we have some people who were in from Gallup who were in the Iraq and also in the Korean War. We're working on 2 more right now. So the other one I want to talk about is a book called War Child, Lessons Learned from Growing Up in War. And what we're doing with that one is we've put out a call for stories for people who were 19 and under who were serving in combat, because we did have some young guys go to Vietnam. Children who are now adults but were children when their parents deployed, children who are children now whose parents have deployed. And also we have opened up a conversation with some refugees who grew up in war zones and who have fled. So we have started getting stories going back to a military brat from World War II who had to evacuate, to my mother-in-law who grew up as a child in Scotland during World War II, and to Holocaust survivors' children living with their parents' PTSD and experiences in the Holocaust. So we're getting quite a variety.
Response, huh?
Yeah. So we're excited about
We just met
that.
a woman whose mother lived in a village in occupied France in World War II, and she's trying to get her mother to talk to us about what it was like being a little girl in a German-occupied town in France.
So did she show up at the museum, or where'd you meet
The
her?
daughter did. She came to the museum
And how do people know about this museum?
Well,
Are you?
because people like you help us.
Yeah, thank you.
That is a problem. We're looking for more. We need more visitors, and we want more visitors.
You
and
should also, try to interview with the local newspapers. There's a paper in Tijeras, and reach out to your city
we do
and county
that.
governments.
Yeah, we're trying to. Some people don't quite understand what we are. The Museum of the American Military Family. What is that? Is it a veterans? Will we see guns and tanks? Well, no, but you're going to see some really cool artifacts. And so, two things I wanted. Do you want to talk really quickly about the Cox collection?
Yeah, we just received an amazing collection of 75 or 80 real artifacts a teacher collected over her years working abroad. Not souvenirs, but artifacts that she bought to use in her teaching. And they are tools and instruments and garments.
Wow,
and
that gives me the chills. That's
and
awesome.
From Africa, from the Middle East.
Sub-Saharan Africa, from the Middle East, from the Caribbean, a little bit from Europe, a little bit from Japan, but mostly things that most of us in our daily life would not see.
Sure.
And the lady needed a home for them, and through an assortment of arrangements, finally decided that we should have them. So we have those on display, with more coming yet.
What if somebody wants to donate? Somebody might be watching right now, and they want to donate something precious that was a family members or
We'd
theirs.
like to see it. We'd like to
So
consider it.
they can call us to
Yeah,
see
that's
if
a good
that's
idea. Give
yeah.
us the actual address. I'm not sure where Molly's is, but maybe if you have an actual address, we could announce and or a phone number
Okay,
where
well,
they can get a hold of you at the museum.
Well, the phone number is 505-504-6830.
P.O. Box 5085, Albuquerque,
That's the best address for
87185.
Yeah, so that's our P.O. Box in Albuquerque, but we're physically located, I think, at 546 State Highway 333.
Next to Molly's Bar.
Molly's Bar.
Can't miss
Everybody
it.
knows where
Old
Molly's
Route
is.
66 in Tijeras.
So,
I went horseback riding in Tijeras once.
Oh.
yeah, it's beautiful, and we do get a lot of interested people that just pop in. They
How
happen to
big
be
is
going-
your facility? This
Well, I'm not
memorial?
good at square footage, but we have 3 rooms plus a garden, so it's really it's nice.
Outstanding. And the garden, who takes care of it?
Well, it's a garden in progress. So right now we have
It's too cold right now.
Yeah. Well, we have we have a couple of volunteers that we're just all working on it. It's eventually it's going to be beautiful. Right now it's grass and some crocuses.
And do you take donations if
We
there are
do.
people who would like to help? Do you have fundraisers that we can talk about? When are they? And
We're not good at
be sure and
fundraising,
invite
but
me.
we'd like to be. And of
I'm
course,
not good at fundraising either.
We can use funds. We welcome funds.
We are an all-volunteer board, and we
No
are
paid staff.
Yeah, and we depend on donations. We do have some grants because we do things like this, and we got to talk really quickly about the memorial we're building. We're building a
Sure,
memorial.
in Santa Fe? Or
Yes,
where is
Santa
that?
It
Fe.
is. It's in Santa Fe.
Please, talk about it.
It's a small house, and it's actually in place outside the Bataan Museum, the National Guard Museum here in Santa Fe. And we hope to have it completed by the end of April, early May. And it's going to be an exhibit, really, with windows so people can look into one of 5 windows and see examples of what a child's life is like,
Aw.
a spouse's life
I
is
love
like
it.
in the military. And it'll be set up so there'll be a flag on the in front of the house with a spotlight on it. And of course, a couple metal dandelions to symbolize the brats. And it's in progress. You can
I'm an
actually
honorary
see.
brat. How's that?
Good for you. You can actually see the house now, but as a memorial, it's not quite complete.
And
How
we
fascinating.
want it to be very inclusive. So one window is for the parents and grandparents, the next is for the spouses and the partners, and the kids have the back side, and then the service, active duty, and then also the veteran. So it kind of talks about all aspects of the military
And when's that
family.
going to open? And
Well, we're looking tentatively at what, May 6th?
May
I think.
6th, there's an observance
For
maybe
World
you
War
should
II.
maybe you should come back and we can talk more about it and the progress that you've made.
Oh, that'd be very nice.
that-
I'd be glad to do that.
That would be nice. That
Now
would
that
be
we
really
know where
good.
to park.
Yes, now we're going to get you closer, and it'll be warmer by then. And you can bring your, your
Foot locker.
show and tell.
The
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, so actually I got to make a quick thing about Operation Foot Locker. So Operation Foot Locker, it sounds like what it is. It's a big Foot Locker. We inherited Operation Foot Locker from a group of the original founders, which were a group of brats that wanted to have a museum honoring them. This happened in the 1990s. About 1996, they said, well, where would we put our museum? And nobody could come up with a place, because where are you going to put a museum that symbolizes, 15 million brats, and they live all over the place. So they decided a Foot Locker. So what they had done for years until we took over in 2011 was it was shipped. A lot of people just contributed items. This is what it's like to be a military brat. Contributed items. And that Foot Locker literally went from reunion to if somebody was having a meeting, they would ship it, and then whoever got it had to put more items in it and ship it back. So we have kept up that spirit, and so if anybody wants a Foot Locker, they request it from us. We pay to ship it there. They are the guardians of the Foot Locker. They add extra items to it, and then they ship it back or on to the next location. We have never lost an item. It's all honors-based. We have gotten some incredibly touching, moving things in it. You never know what's going to come
About
back
pictures,
in it.
so-
We've gotten pictures. There are yearbooks in there. We got somebody's dog tags. A wife actually put in her husband's Green Beret. He served 2 tours of Vietnam and 1 of Korea, and he then was a police officer, and he died, and she sent us his beret with his story. And so we have precious things that come back in that Foot Locker.
Outstanding.
So that's, we
Wow.
have that. The
I'm
public-
totally fascinated, and I'm honored and proud, and this is probably one of the best programs.
Oh, my.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Wow.
Well,
Well, we've
we-
had a good time.
Yeah.
We haven't even realized we're on TV. It's no stage fright. Now I should swoon.
Yeah, no, hey, you exceeded. I mean, you excelled, both of you, and I'm touched, and I'm serious. I think this is a great program you've started in the museum and the Foot Locker. You might have to let me borrow that Foot Locker, and I'll hand deliver it back to you with a few things that I might find for you.
We like to point out we had a very nice letter of encouragement from Dr. Jill Biden, the former Vice President's wife, and from both of our senators. We're very pleased.
Udall and
Outstanding.
Heinrich.
So you're
Yeah.
getting big. You're gonna
The
do
letters
well.
are nice,
Yeah.
and we appreciate them, and they talk to us.
But the thing is, it started off as a good idea, and now it's become a calling.
That's
because we now have people giving us their precious things. They're not monetarily valuable.
And they're going to be in a good home for life.
But
so.
they're
Represent
priceless.
A person's life is what
You know.
really some of this stuff is.
and
Well, I'll tell you what, I want you to come back because there's more to talk about. And as things progress and develop, please include me. And
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you
Okay,
for
thank you.
your service, and thank you for doing what you do. And
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
And if you'd like to be on this program, please call my office at 827-4533. Thank you for watching.